just beyond yourself, it's where you need to be. Just beyond yourself, it's where you need to be. There's a road always beckoning. Great opening lines from the Irish Yorkshire poet David White, urging us to go beyond ourselves in all that we do. I'm the proud CEO of Doncaster Council, and it's our purpose to ensure that this place and its people thrive. Therefore, I believe that all action should be socially situated and socially embedded. We all have a sense of origin. We all have a sense of identity. And we all feel a sense of belonging. It's time to harness this to create a place-based form of higher education that is accessible for all and meets the needs of a growing and inclusive economy. So how did we get here? Both my parents were working class and left school at age 15 to join trades and training in the 1950s. For them, going to university was never an option, as only 3.4% of the population participated at the time. The 1960s and 70s saw the expansion of a new wave of universities, the introduction of higher education maintenance grants, and access to higher education by a new generation of comprehensive school students, including myself, in 1980, when the participation rate stabilised at 12%. I was the first to go away to university. Eventually, 5 out of the 6 of us kids would. Now there's a phrase, go away to university. Most had to leave home to go to universities as they were mainly situated in major cities. Rarely did they return to their hometowns and villages, as was the case with myself when I left to become a teacher. In 1992, the quest to increase participation saw the rate rise from 19 to 35% in 10 years, driven by the John Major government. It also saw the conversion of colleges of higher education and polytechnics into new universities. And as a post-16 tutor at the time, I witnessed the Y generation swelling the ranks in ever-increasing number of young people going to higher education, towards the target of 50% set by the Tony Blair government. He was also responsible in the noughties for the introduction of higher education fees and loans, shifting the burden of debt to the learner in an ever-increasing marketised model of higher education. I just want to emphasise that this sets up the conditions for an increasing drain of qualified young people from their communities. So what are the failings of the traditional higher education model? About 50% of current UK graduates do jobs that are deemed to be non-graduate in nature, whilst growth sector jobs continue and remain unfilled. And there's an increasing accrual of debt by most students, leading to an increasing disillusionment with and disenfranchisement from the traditional model of higher education. And whilst the numbers of graduates have increased, the proportion of part-time graduates has reduced by 50% in the past 10 years. And fundamentally, this leads to a situation where the numbers in the workforce are reducing in terms of those that have got qualifications at levels 1, 2, 3 and 4. And particularly in those sectors in Doncaster where high level skill 4 are required in sectors such as rail engineering and advanced manufacturing. And what this leads to is an ever increasing self-perpetuating feedback loop where young people are leaving their communities, reducing the availability of highly qualified, skilled workforces, and as a consequence, localities are left behind in the pursuit of a traditional model of higher education. So what's the answer? So to give up on these people, as policymakers have done. Recently, I interviewed one of our councillors whose personal story inspired me. I'd like to just read you what he said. I left school at 16 with few qualifications and spent 10 years grafting in heavy industry, only to be made redundant 3 times. This provided me with the impetus to return to learn in my mid-20s. So it was a conscious decision to remain at home and travel in for my university course. I had a family, young kids, and I could not afford any form of accommodation to fully immerse myself in the going away to university experience. A degree programme through Doncaster College provided me with a clear career route and then a move into teaching. The campus was embedded within the local area, easy to reach, and I could also get home overnight to spend time with my family, friends, and remain part of the local community. And what really impressed me was he said that he would come home overnight, go down to the pub with his friends and talk about what he'd learned during the day at university. And unwittingly, he was becoming a role model for his friends to follow. So, learning from such experience and the best and next practice from elsewhere, the answer is a radical form of higher education that is place-based, that we're calling the hybrid model of higher education. I'd like to just explain the 4 key elements that make up this model. Firstly, bringing all of the learning assets in the place together in a network, a true city of learning. And in Doncaster, we're blessed with an array of educational assets, such as the Teaching Hospital, Doncaster College, the National College for Advanced Transport and Infrastructure, and exciting plans to create a new higher education, health and social care campus in the centre of the borough. Secondly, a digital technology platform that enables us to reach vulnerable people and places. To complement the place-based model of higher education, you need a digital offer, offering shorter learning opportunities to ensure that people who are studying can access and be assessed at any time and on any platform. Thirdly, to build a community offer that makes use of all of the assets in the community and community advocates to ensure that those who are traditionally marginalised from higher and further education structures can access the new provision. And finally, build progression pathways linked to the needs of the local economy, recognised by businesses at all levels, and wrapped around by careers information, advice and guidance service that ensures that learners can be supported as they progress. And in this way, it's a new form of vocational higher education. I believe that this form of higher education provision has a lot to offer places like Doncaster by truly wrapping round a tailor-made provision for the place. What would you do if nothing were impossible? I work with people who design their lives to be grand adventures. Do you want to go there? Doncaster's grand adventure is to radically change the learning ecosystem and infrastructure, to create a place-based model of higher education that is fit for the needs of the place, that is ambitious, bust the myth that this isn't good enough for this place, and goes beyond our expectations, and acts like nothing were impossible. To do this, we need to call upon others to help us design it, by urging students and parents so that they can challenge the old and fixed attitudes, by empowering teachers, schools and colleges to develop relevant sector pathways and improve careers information, advice and guidance, and by encouraging businesses to co-produce and invest in study programmes that they can deliver so that actually there is a quality real world experience for students. And more importantly and somewhat crucially, challenging government to shift the resources within the system to this model so that students can earn as they learn. Just beyond yourself is where you need to be. Just beyond yourself, it's where you need to be. Just beyond ourselves is where we all need to be. Thank you very much.